Chico Resch. You are listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast on the Primetime Radio Network.
Happy Devils Sunday. This is Game Day Live, coming to you live from American Whiskey at 51 Edison Place in beautiful Newark, New Jersey, across the street from Prudential Center, next to Championship Plaza, where the rich people are having their gala in that heated tent outside. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with Vinnie Parise of pucksandpitchforks.com. Streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils Network. Devils taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins on a matinee game. Division rivals. How are you, my friend Vinny? How was your weekend so far?
It's been really good so far, Sam. The Devils have taken 9 out of 10 points against the Pacific Division so far this year, and that was capped off with Hischier getting the game tied with a couple seconds left in the game last time they played against the Seattle Kraken on Thursday. It was a great showing on the road. I know they didn't get the point in overtime. Andrei Burakovsky made a sweet shot to get the game won for the Kraken in overtime, but, from there, you just got to look at the positives. They found a way to get a point in that game that they didn't play very well. And, you capped off the Western road trip well. Now you got to come home and start doing some home cooking. The Pittsburgh Penguins await. Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin are fighting for that last playoff spot. They're trying to take advantage of the fact that the Islanders have lost a bunch of games in a row now, and they're trying to separate themselves from them. So you're going to get a hungry Penguins team that has pedigree. Tough one for the Devils. See what they can do at home.
Yeah, they need to establish that home presence. Beating the Rangers was the first step. The last time they were at home was on January 7th. And then they went on a tear on the road. They were just tearing through California. Seattle, I just don't think they had enough gas towards that fifth game of that road trip. But they did get the point. And Seattle will be coming to Prudential Center in a couple weeks, I believe. I think they're on the schedule. But the 4-game stretch for the Devils coming up right now, Vinny, is extremely important before All-Star. These are tough teams. You got the Penguins. You got the Vegas Golden Knights coming in on Tuesday at the Rock. Then you skip Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, back-to-back. First going into Nashville. Nashville figured out the New Jersey Devils last time they played them. And then Dallas Stars, who are having a pretty terrific season, especially Jason Robertson being in that Hart Trophy talk in the first quarter of the season a couple weeks back. It's going to be a tough stretch, but I hope the Devils, they actually finish strong before they take the break.
Yeah, and the Dallas Stars, they were part of that losing streak that the Devils had back in December. That was the team they were playing when I was driving home from New Jersey. I remember that. And, it was a tough game. Every time the Devils seemed to, take a step forward in that game, the Dallas Stars found a way to, make it hard on them. And, it's just a tough stretch of games, and the Devils are going to have to play well. They've been playing well lately. They beat good teams, and they beat bad teams. So when you go on a stretch like that, you got to play well. And listen, being barely over 500 at home, that's not great, right? If they weren't so great on the road, they wouldn't be where they are on the standings. So they got to start finding ways to win at the Prudential Center. I think the little losing streak that they had there kind of ruined those numbers a little bit, but they need to find a way to get it done. I think today's a great way to start with the Pittsburgh Penguins.
And the Devils are getting players back. Nathan Bastian is back. Palat is a few games back. We're still waiting on John Marino. Last I heard that he's wearing the non-contact jersey. Any updates on Marino, Vinny?
The update that I saw today is that Marino is now being evaluated as day-to-day rather than week-to-week, which is a step in the right direction. It would stun me if he's not back by the end of the All-Star game.
Well, that's great news for the Devils. But Nikita Hoytuk, he's filling in just nicely, giving the Devils what they need. One of those guys on the blue line, a stopper, that beef that we've been talking about. We talk about beefalytics here on the podcast. That presence. But who would you, when Marino comes back, what are the pairings going to look like? Is it going to be status quo? But Ahoytuk has really grown on me, making it very difficult for the coaching staff to take him out of the lineup.
Yeah, honestly, so you have your locks, right? Hamilton, Siegenthaler, Graves, Severson, and I'm forgetting a big one. I'm forgetting a really big one. Oh, Marino, obviously.
Graves?
He would be a lock. No, I said Graves.
Oh.
Marino is the other lock. When Marino's healthy, Marino plays. Marino, Graves, Siegenthaler, Hamilton, Severson. Those are 5 locks. That means you have Kevin Ball, Smith, and Ahoytuk as your potential 6th. Whichever one of those 6 whichever one of those 3 has the best practice, that's the guy who plays that night. Whoever's clearly got their legs better than everybody else that day, that's who plays that night. That's how I would handle it. Ahoytuk he had a really rough start. His first couple games in the NHL this season were tough, but he really impressed me in the game against the Kings. And, he played well against the Kraken too. So he's in the mix for sure now. I just would go with whoever is playing the best.
And he's not a bad puck mover at all. He holds the puck in the offensive zone. He's got some moves, but, primarily, we like Ahoytuk for his hitting. I mean, we want that on the defense to protect Vanacek and Mackenzie Blackwood. Now, the goalie tandem right now is not looking that bad. I know that Mackenzie Blackwood probably wished he had that one back against the Kraken, but there were a lot of point-blank range shots at that Seattle game where he was just stopping them. He kept the Devils. He basically carried them on his back just to get that point. But then there was that unfortunate incident in the overtime that we talked about. The Borkstrand just nicked Jesper Bratt's skate and then just fell into the Mackenzie Blackwood, which I think took him off a little bit. And then eventually the Kraken scored the game-winning goal. So I'm not going to fault Mackenzie Blackwood there. He does have his moments where he gives up a soft. But right now, the Devils, you have to be happy that they've got 2 goaltenders, much better than last year what we saw. 2 goaltenders that can steal a game, but also they're not going to be worn out by the end of the season when we're talking about playoffs.
Yeah, and if they keep both playing well, you have a 1A, 1B situation. You'll see how well that impacts whoever makes the start of the first playoff game last year. And Mackenzie Blackwood's been good. Everyone wants to hate on him. You can't. He's been really good. You want to call that goal in overtime against Burakovsky soft? Fine. I don't necessarily agree. Sometimes guys just make a great shot. And Jesper Bratt fell into him right before, as you pointed out. There were people calling for goaltender interference, but there really probably would have been more tripping on Bratt. But, that's not here nor there. He's been good. And I would keep rolling both of them. I believe Vitek Vanacek is going to play today because I don't see why they would go Blackwood back-to-back, games, not days. But we'll see how it goes.
I think Vanacek plays much better when he has at least 2 or 3, maybe 3 days rest, 2 days rest. Vanacek, I don't want to burn out before the playoffs. I think to have both goalies fresh. I can't believe we're even talking about playoffs. Look where the Devils are right now in the Metropolitan Division. They're in second place. They're, kind of have a lead over the teams beneath them, but also chasing the Carolina Hurricanes. I think the Devils are in a great spot. They're still hungry for first place, but they're also wanting to kind of build that cushion that they lost during their losing streak back in December. I think it's all positive for the New Jersey Devils. Speaking of positives, Vinny, I told you before off air, American Whiskey, we're going to celebrate our 500,000 download mark, a 500,000 party that we're going to have here on February 25th. American Whiskey is stepping up to the celebrations. There are going to be balloons. There's going to be all sorts of shenanigans here. But we're going to, next month, have the off-the-menu items at American Whiskey, where if you follow this podcast and you follow what we tell you, what to order here at American Whiskey, it won't be on the menu. You can get it here at American Whiskey just by mentioning the podcast and mentioning what you want. So, for example, Taylor Hamburger. They're going to have that next month. Some people will call it pork roll burger. It's just going to be more expensive, but people say it's the same thing. I don't know where people get that. Anyway, so we're going to have that, other things as well here at American Whiskey. So keep it here. But the $500,000 party, February 25th, we'll try to bring in some guests as well. Vinny, are you going to fly in? I know a lot of fans are flying in.
We're going to see.
Okay.
We're going to see.
Not putting you on the spot here, being from Chicago and all.
I will be there one way or another.
Okay. I'll take it at that. Vinny, I was reading on pucksandpitchforks.com. What are your thoughts? I think it was Charlie Borges Jr. writing about the Devils should bring Adam Henrique back. What are your thoughts on that?
I love that idea. If it's getting close to the trade deadline and it's becoming obvious that the Devils are going to play the Rangers in the first round, I don't see how you don't trade for Adam Henrique. Even with the Ducks, that guy's been a Ranger killer. Like, he scored multiple goals against the Rangers with the Ducks, and they play only a couple times a year.
Yeah.
They should absolutely consider that.
So you really think so? Because, I'll play devil's advocate here, no pun intended, that happened so long ago. Are we still wanting Adam Henrique here with this nucleus? Or do you think he's going to bring that experience enough for the playoffs? I mean, he'll definitely give the fans an emotional lift if they trade for Adam Henrique, but it's got to be for the right price. I mean, I just love all the pieces that Tom Fitzgerald has at his disposal, but I'm all about just do the full rebuild and don't give up that pipeline to get certain players at trade deadline.
Yeah, you can't give up a lot. I'm not all for trading the far. And again, yes, it has to be for the right price. I do think Henrique is productive enough still that it's not just strictly nostalgia. It's not like they'd be bringing back somebody who they were good so long ago. They only have 2 goals right now. It wouldn't be like the Carolina Hurricanes trading for Eric Stahl, who is just simply a 4th liner for the Panthers now, a healthy scratch every other game. Adam Henrique is a solid contributor for a bad Anaheim Ducks team. If he came to the Devils with just nothing but a pure leadership role and, score some goals here and there, I don't think it's a terrible move, especially if you're not giving up a whole lot for him. I'm not giving up a draft pick that's any higher than a 4th. I'm not giving up any prospect that is a top 10 prospect of theirs. But if Anaheim's looking to offload him and just get a little something for him as they try to win the Connor Bedard sweepstakes, I'm calling if I'm the Devils.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I'm kind of over Henry, to be honest with you. Again, he has a place in Devils history that's most memorable. I mean, being there, Game 6, that was probably one of the loudest, maybe the loudest that I ever heard the Prudential Center at that moment, because what was wild about that play was there was a goal mouth scramble. If you were on the other side of the arena where I was, where the Devils would shoot twice, you couldn't see. You couldn't see what was going on. You knew there was a pileup, just like on the New Jersey Turnpike. Like, there's a pileup there, but you can't really see. And then you had to rely on the crowd that was right there, and when they started jumping up before the goal horn sounded, that's when you knew that the series was won. That's what I remember, of that day. That was a surreal day from start to finish. Like, that morning, the way I remembered it, you knew you weren't going to lose that morning. Like, everything about 1994, the Game 6, Mark Messier, the guarantee, he made. Most people don't realize Mark Messier made 8 guarantees and only 1 came true. And suddenly he's like a messiah, a god in New York, But that's just my opinion, of course.
Sam, did you know that you have someone wearing an Adam Henrique jersey right behind you? Like, I mean, that just goes to show how much he resonates with the fan base to this day. That someone's wearing an Adam Henrique jersey to a game when they're in first place or in a high playoff spot 10 years later.
I didn't notice that. Even if I did, I would have said the same thing, so don't worry about it. I didn't change my opinion. I'm not worried for my life or anything. You know, it's Newark. Anyway, but no, it's just I'll tell you what, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid right now with the New Jersey Devils. 10 years of suffering, of absolute suffering, of just revamping. It wasn't just a rebuild. It was a complete overhaul. New ownership comes in. They just basically ripped off the Band-Aid upon Band-Aid. Because towards the end there, Lou was just getting one last gasp. And I'm not going to fault Lou because, look, Lou's getting older. He just turned 80 not too long ago, now GM of the Islanders. But I'll tell you, it's been a long, long time. And then you had the Fool's Gold with Taylor Hall's season, where Taylor Hall, MVP Hart Trophy season, leading the Devils just for that one playoff berth. And I think that's where the mistake was. Ray Shero probably, he gambled a little bit. And then the 2019 season where you draft Jack Hughes, but Jack Hughes was just a baby at that time. And he just turned 18. And then the failures and then Ray Shero leaving. Ever since Tom Fitzgerald took over this franchise, every move, and you can make an argument on this, every move has been the right move. Even if unpopular, like trading Blake Coleman, was probably the right move, at that time period. Because was Blake Coleman going to stay here long term? We don't know. But that draft pick, which it's to be determined, that coming through Vancouver, through Tampa, Shakir Muhammadulin, we still don't know. But at the same time, I think that's the only move that I can think of that is questionable. Everything else, I think, has been great. Dawson Mercer.
I just don't get. Yep. I don't get why people were so gung ho. Like Blake Coleman was a good player. He wasn't a great player. Like they got a good return for him, not a great return. And Shakir Muhammadulin, if he turns out to be an NHL player for 200 games, that's what you would expect in a trade for a guy like Blake Coleman. You got Dawson Mercer out of Taylor Hall. Taylor Hall was an MVP caliber player. He's a very good player for the Boston Bruins right now. He's one of the reasons they're a Stanley Cup favorite because they have like a top line driving offensive forward on each of their top three lines. That's because of Taylor Hall. And you got Dawson Mercer, who might be the Devils' fifth or sixth best player right now. Wait till he gets older.
Yeah, and again, that's the price of a rebuild. And if you think about it, if you want to be the cruel reality of it, as good of a player Blake Coleman is, he was a third or fourth round pick by Lou Lamoriello. To flip that pick, essentially, and getting a first 20th overall plus Nolan Foote, and again, I'm not sold on Nolan Foote because I think he's a little too slow for the NHL game. But so far, everything that Tom Fitzgerald has done has worked. Now he's gotten lucky too. I mean, that Goudreau, what would you think if the Giants, if the Devils signed Goudreau and did not sign Palat and trade for Marino because of that salary cap space?
Yeah, I mean, I was pissed the day Goudreau went to the Blue Jackets. Looking back, I'm like, what were you so mad about? He's a really good player, right? Like, anybody who thinks he's not is just crazy. He is a very, very good player. But there is no reason to be mad that they don't have Goudreau. He wouldn't have been their best player. He arguably wouldn't have been their second best player because I would not trade Hischier or Hughes for Goudreau. Long term, short term, no matter how you put it, I would not trade either of them for Goudreau. And they're on bargain deals. You got your superstars on bargain deals relative to what other players of their production make around the league. I don't know. I'm just happy with the way things have turned out. We'll see what happens with the goaltending, but if Luke Hughes and Simon Nemec can come in and be as good as projected, I would re-sign Graves. See what happens with Severson. You have Hamilton and Siegenthaler, and Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier are only going to get better. They're only going to get better. Jack Hughes is on pace for 100 points at 21. What about when he's 26, 27? I don't see how there's not multiple division championships or at least high-ranked postseason berths. I know there's some good teams in the Metropolitan Division and Eastern Conference and whatnot. And you got to get to a Stanley Cup final and win one. I mean, that's what we're all looking for. But, that takes time. I'm not necessarily sure that's them this year, but we'll see.
I'm calling it right now, and I've said this many times. Jack Hughes has the potential of being a 60-60, having a 60-60 season, because when he shoots first, he is so dangerous because it opens up his line mates. Just imagine if Eric Holla, and I don't want to harp on the guy because I'm one of the few Eric Holla fans. Just think if he actually finished 30% of the passes that he gets from Jack Hughes, and how many assists that Jack Hughes would have piled up by now to go along with his 30 goals that he has with the Devils.
I think you could dumb it down to 10% of the passes.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. But I still have hope for Holla because I think he's going to have a tremendous run, 3 weeks to the playoffs, that he's going to have this tremendous run because eventually those goals are going to be coming. They're already starting to come. I think he's had 2 goals in the last 3 games or something like that. So I think Holla's
the shorthanded goal.
Yeah.
Oh, the shorthanded goal was so pretty.
Yeah. And one other thing, Vinny, about Jack Hughes. Against Seattle, it seemed like the Devils didn't really have their legs in the beginning of the game and in the second period. But did you see Jack Hughes turn on the afterburners when he was just ready to go? That was McDavid-esque. That is elite speed that you can't replicate. You can't even teach that. Where with the puck, he was just going. It was almost like a cheat code in the EA sports game where he just goes crazy. Or Bo Jackson in Tecmo Bowl. He's that fast.
Yeah, and human beings have energy issues and. You're not able to bring your 100% every single game, especially if it's the last game of a road trip on the Pacific Northwest. If Connor McDavid and Jack Hughes were able to have that exact same burning fire every single game and there was no human element to it, they'd each have 150, 200 points each season. So the fact that when the moment gets tough now, 2 straight games, moment was tough late in the game, and Jack Hughes, he wasn't having his best game in either game. After dominating the rest of the road trip before that, he found a way to turn it on when it was needed the most. He scored the goal against the Sharks. He assisted on the goal against the Kraken. Devils got 3 out of 4 points because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's get to our Sunday night predictions. Predictions for the game, Vinny. You go first on this one. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think the Devils are going to beat the Penguins 4-3.
4-3. Okay, I think it's going to be high scoring. I'm going 6-4 Devils. 6-4 Devils.
I like it.
I think that's what's going to happen, and then we'll definitely figure it out on Devils After Dark after the game. Coming to you live from the Primetime Radio Studios in the bunker. But we will be streaming it out at American Whiskey at 51 Edison Place, across the street from Prudential Center next to Championship Plaza. Vinny, thank you to all of our fans. I'm seeing all the comments. Ramona says 5-2 Devils. JP says 5-2 Devils. Bachakalu from Switzerland says 1-0 OT win. And also Dave Singer saying and Max saying that Nikita Hoytuk is not in warm-ups right now, apparently. Ball is in, according to Max, and Nikita Hoytuk out. So that's an interesting...
Yeah, that is interesting.
Interesting matchup. Maybe there's some key analytics or whatever reason why Lindy Ruff is going there. And Dave Furman says 15-3 Devils. I'll tell you what, Dave. If the Devils win 15-3, I'll personally buy you an all-you-can-eat meal here at American Whiskey, if that happens.
I couldn't agree more. I think that is a necessary award for making a prediction like that correctly.
Yeah. All righty. So we'll be back after the game. Devils After Dark. Scotty of Sirius XM, Liquid Metal, and I will recap the game that was. Want to thank all the bartenders. Please tip your bartenders. Peyton, Aaron, they're all there, back there. Is that Alejandra? Oh, there you are. I didn't see you before. Remember, February 25th, the $500,000 party here at American Whiskey. And remember, next month, order off the menu, all the goodies. Till next time, let's go Devils.